How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the risk management chapter of the course. We're going to be talking about the overall risk parameters and individual risk tolerance in this video. So, risk tolerance is your personal mental ability to manage different levels of risk and loss. Okay, we're all wired differently. Some of us are able to put huge risk on moves, and some of us have to keep the risk very, very small. Okay. For some, your risk is going to be high, others, it's going to be low. Our risk parameters and the rules that we set in place, the guidelines that we set in place for managing our risk, so how much we go to risk per trade, and then our cutoff point for loss and our cutoff point for profit, okay, is all going to be different, and it's going to reflect your individual, personal, mental risk tolerance. Okay. So some of us, as I've mentioned, are going to have a super small risk tolerance, and we are not going to react well to monetary loss. Others are going to be able to handle a lot. Okay, if you are the gambling type, or you're very into the thrill of risk, you're probably going to react a lot better risking bigger amounts of money. But regardless of which type you are, it's important that you need to remain realistic and logical with your risk parameters. Okay, regardless of your personal risk tolerance, there are dangers of risking too much, and there are dangers of risking too little. Okay, so we need to remain realistic, and we need to remain logical with the parameters and targets and the risk percentage per trade that we use. Even if we feel like we'd be happy risking 10% of our account per trade, it's not a wise thing to do. Okay, so we need to keep our risk small. But of course, you can up it a little bit depending on your personal ability to handle risk and handle loss. So, risk parameters then are the guidelines, limits, and targets that we put in place for controlling our risk. Okay. These risk parameters are ingrained in all of our trading. They are the core of our trading plan. We need to follow them strictly on every trade. As we've spoken about before with risk reward, if we want to achieve, success trading this risk reward approach where we risk 1 to make 2, 1 to make 3, 1 to make 4, etc., we need to make sure that we are always risking that same one, hypothetical 1, okay? Because if we are switching that up, winning trades and losing trades are going to be all different sizes, all out of order, and we're never going to be able to adhere to that risk management strategy properly. So parameters are at the foundation of our trading plan. They're at the foundation of our discipline as well. If we have these risk parameters in place, we know that we're going to win long term. Okay, if we can trade with these strict parameters and we can stray from breaking these parameters, we know that we can win regardless of short-term losing streaks anyways. Okay, so the parameters will help you in your discipline, and knowing that following these is what's going to lead to success will help you to build that discipline and help you control the discipline to follow the rules, follow your parameters, and trade in line with those. So risk parameters are going to be personal, in line with your personal risk tolerance, as we've spoken about. Okay, so if you are a very risk averse person and you don't like putting on huge amounts of risk per trade, you're probably going to keep your risk down to around 1%. Alternatively, you might want to bump it all the way up to about 4% if you are a more gambling type, or you are stronger emotionally at dealing with risk and dealing with loss. So a few examples of risk parameters are: I will risk X amount per trade, okay? Every single trade. So for example, personal to you, you might say, I will risk 2% per trade on every trade. Okay, that's what I do, 2%. You might say, I will risk 1% per trade every trade, okay? Or I will risk 4% per trade every trade. Personally, I do not think we should ever surpass the 4% mark. I think that's getting quite high there, risking 4% of your account per trade. But it's manageable, right? Anything bumping past 5 is quite mega. That's quite a lot of risk to be putting on a position. So another parameter is, if I lose X amount within this trading session, I will pause trading for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. On the contrary, if I make X%, okay, I will pause trading for the day or the week. So these parameters help you to manage your account overall. Okay, if you hit a losing streak and you hit 3 trades in a row that lose 2% per trade, you've just lost 6%. This may be your cutoff point for the rest of the week. Okay, so you'll think, right, I'm going to go away from the markets. relax, realign, come back next week with a clear mind and re-tackle the market, win back my losses and win back some more profits. It's important that we do this. We accept losses and we accept the possibility of pausing our trading, okay? Because if we continue to trade through extended periods of loss, we are just going to open our accounts up to significant losses, right? If you have no cutoff point and you just keep on trading through the losses, 2% loss, 2% loss, 2% loss, 2% loss, 2% loss, over and over and over again, takes 5 losses a day, you can wipe your account out quite fast, okay? So we need these parameters in place that help us to stay relaxed while trading, and they also help us to keep professional, okay? Because professional trader will not continually enter the same trades over and over and over and over and over and over again. They will have parameters in place, okay? And they do have parameters in place to pause trading on losing streaks. So on the contrary then, if I make X%, I will pause trading for the day or week. It's also important because it stops us from getting greedy, okay? Let's say we've just had an amazing week and we've just made 10%, all right? This is probably going to be the cutoff point for our trades because we don't want to go risking more in an attempt to make more because we've just nailed 10%, okay? That's an amazing profit for a week, okay? So you should have your cutoff point for profits as well. If you've made 10%, there is absolutely no reason to go back into the market risking some of those profits to make more, right? You should be happy. You need a cutoff point, be it 6%, 8%, 10% in a week or a month. And that is where you will cut off trading and pause for the week, okay? So risk parameters are really important and it will help you to control your risk. So we've just spoken about the I will risk X% per trade every trade. And this is the most important principle of risk management. We got to strictly adhere to our specific X% amount, okay, if we want to succeed within the risk reward strategy that we're going to be trading. So we need to choose a risk percent and we stick to that on every single trade. Maybe some exceptions here and there. So we are taking a overnight trade that we're not able to manage. We may want to halve the risk on that position, but generally you're going to want to trade the same risk percent on every single position you take. So we're going to choose a risk percent and then we're going to stick to it on every single trade. For me, and I believe personally, the golden number is 2%, okay? 2% risk per trade is pretty much the perfect thing, the perfect amount to trade. But why is that? So 2% provides the perfect balance, okay? A 2% risk, it is practically impossible to blow your account. If you stick to the parameters as well, your cutoff points, and you trade logically, if you're risking 2% per trade, it's going to take you a lot of losing trades in a row, almost an impossible to hit amount of losing trades in a row in order to actually lose your account. So if you can do this from the start, there's no reason that you should blow another account or blow any accounts whatsoever. So alternatively then, 2% makes trading worthwhile, okay? If we were to risk less per trade, we risk 1% per trade, our trading is going to be inefficient, so to speak. So we, on 2%, get double the results that we get when trading 1%. So let's say we win a 1 to 3 trade, okay? On a 1%, we will win 3% on that movement. That's nothing to be concerned about, that's good. But on the 2%, we'll make 6, okay? So it doubles up the speed, doubles up the speed of the account growth process. That's the reason that I personally think 2% is the perfect balance. When we start going over 2%, risk gets quite big. And if we go under 2%, trading can feel not worthwhile, especially if we're using a smaller account. So I've got an example chart here that I've marked up, which shows the difference between risking 1% and 2% on a risk reward strategy. So I think we're trading with around 65, 66% accuracy here. Let's say we start off with 1 win, okay, and we are taken up on the 2% risk per trade. We are now at 2% profit, okay. We then win another trade. We are up to 4% profit. When we lose one, we're going to be dropped down to that 2% mark again, okay. From there, 2 winning trades is going to take us to 4 and 6%. A loss brings us back down to 4, but you can see how we grow quite fast to the 8% mark, okay. On the 1% risk per trade, this is trading 1-to-1 ratio, by the way. On the 1% risk per trade, after all of those wins and losses, the same in line, we are only at the 4% profit mark, okay? And While this means losses can happen faster, we have our parameters in place and we have our risk reward strategies in place to help boost our winners and to manage our losses and keep our losses smaller. So personally for me, doubling that little 1% risk there allows us to make much greater profits at a much faster pace without risking too much whatsoever, okay? Without even making it possible to blow an account if we do follow the parameters safely. So that's why I personally like 2%. If we look on the contrary then, new traders might want to go in and risk loads of their account, okay? Say you're sticking in £500, you might think I'm going to risk £50 per trade because I can get fast growth, okay? If I trade this 1 to 2 risk reward, I can win £100 per trade straight off the bat. If I trade 1 to 3, I'm winning 150, 200, etc. But the problem is, it's all good and well until it starts going bad. Okay, so here we have marked out a starting balance of 100 pounds or whatever. Well, yeah, 100%. We start with 100%. And from there, we have a 10 trade losing streak. Okay, the 2% risk per trade takes us down to around 80% after 10 trades. Okay, because we don't lose 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, we don't lose 20% of our account overall. What we actually do is lose 2%, so then we're on 98. And then we lose 2% of that 98, which takes us down to about 96.1. And then from there, we lose that again, taking us down to around 94.5, and so on and so on and so on. So as you can see, if you keep this percentage the same, it means your losses won't stay the same size as your account gets smaller, okay? If we're risking 10% per trade, after 10 losses, our account is only around the 40% mark, right? We lose huge amounts of our account on the same amount of losses. So, let's say 80% or 85% is much easier to come back from. Okay, if we have 85% of our account still intact, we're down 15%. That is much, much easier to come back from than if we wipe all of our accounts out down to 40% mark. Okay, that is going to be a wound down. That's going to be hard to get back from. So that is why, on the contrary, I believe in keeping the risk small. Okay, you might be tempted to go large. You might be tempted to go in big and go all in with the big 10%, 20%, 30% risk. But at the end of the day, losses are going to wipe you out fast. Okay, so that 2% is the perfect balance. It makes trading worthwhile, and it also keeps your risk down to the bare minimum. So recommendation then, when trading small, because I know a lot of you will be trading small accounts, this is completely fine. But when trading small, 2% risk might seem, completely pointless, right? Say you're trading on a £100, $100 account. 2% risk is going to be hard to maintain across all currency pairs, and 2% risk, that's £2. That's $2, all right? That is not a huge amount of money. In instances like this, I would recommend you can bump it up to 4%. The reason being, it's not going to have too much of a psychological effect on you, okay? Let's say we're trading a £100,000 account. We risk 4%. We're risking £4,000 per trade, okay? The psychological effect that's going to have on you is quite big. 2,000, half the loss, is easier to handle. If we're trading £100 or £1,000 though, 4% risk is £4 or £40, okay? £40 loss, that's all right to handle. That's okay to handle, okay? So if you're trading small, I recommend, you can do it. If your risk tolerance allows it, bump it up to 4%, okay? 4% risk is going to be acceptable. On a smaller account, it's not going to usually be a stressful risk, okay? It doubles your account growth speed, and it is going to require a stronger level of patience and discipline. But that can be a good thing, okay? Because we are here to master the process. So this stronger level of discipline and the patience that it's going to require, while it will be harder to settle into in the first place, when you master that, that's going to do wonders for your discipline and your patience. So if you're starting off small, don't feel bad about going for 4% risk, as long as your risk tolerance, your mental, your mindset allows for that, okay, without too much stress. When trading bigger though, personally, 2% is the way to go for me. So if you're going to be trading a larger amount of money, or you're trading a bit of your savings, keep the risk low, okay? It's always better to grow slower than it is to lose fast, okay? So that is most that I have to say for the risk parameters video then. We've spoken about risking that same amount per trade, every trade, which is something very important that you need to do. We've spoken about cutting off your risk, okay? So closing out risk for the week, for the day, for the session, for the month, when you hit certain loss amount or certain profit amount, just to help your mental and your mindset realign. And we've spoken about why that 2% is the golden ratio for risk, okay, and for your account risk per trade. So going forward, in the next video, we're going to conclude risk management. I'm going to bring all of the aspects we've spoken about so far together. We're going to talk about risk tolerance, risk percentages. We're going to talk about parameters. We're going to talk about stop losses, risk reward ratios, and position sizing, and how you can bring all of these things together to form a safe, profitable, and effective risk management strategy. So I'll see you in the next video when we conclude risk management and really get ready to dive into the exciting fundamental and technical analysis sections of the course.